Hello, fellow badasses. I am Craig from Size Matters RC, and on the bench we are working on the BRX01 AWB link. And this is episode number 4 already. Episode number 4. And we are on page 28, moving right along. We're almost done here with a rolling chassis. So far, we've got our links on, our transmission and transfer case are built and ready to go. We have the chassis ready to go. So now, axles and shocks, that's next. So I'm gonna clean off this bench a little bit, get things organized, and we'll go through what we need for the next steps. All right, front axle and shocks are next. So we have our front axle, we have the bag containing our steering link, and I believe a drag link. Yep. All right, so steering link and drag link are in this bag, as well as a shifting link. So we're gonna open up this bag. Do it now, why not? Dump it out on this cow mat. It's magnetic, so it's not going anywhere. So steering link, drag link, shift link. The shift link is actually gonna be put to the side right now because that is not what we're working on. Now, I also know in this bag that we left in here before, when we took out the panhard for the chassis, this is the axle panhard link mount. So now we're gonna dump that out. Another bag gone. And we are still working on bag B. And as usual, I put all my hardware back in, and now we need it again. So I'm just gonna dump that out in one of these pockets and move on with the directions. So we have everything we need here. So now we move on to page 29, which is assembly. Pretty straightforward assembly here on page 29, so I'm gonna go get that done and show you when I'm complete. So I'm working on this front axle, and I just wanna point something out. On page 29, you're gonna see on the axles here, these brackets on the top. It says to remove the 2 screws from this to put on your panhard link. Now, you are not removing that piece, you are just putting the panhard link on top of it, and then you are replacing the 14 millimeter screws. You're taking those out, and you are gonna put 18 millimeters in. So I'm gonna show you what that looks like in 2 seconds, all right? Look, another episode where I'm not there. No, just kidding. So let's get the camera to focus here. Okay, so this is the bracket I'm talking about. That's the panhard link mount. And all we're doing is putting it on top of this bracket, replacing the stock 14 mil regular screws with 18 mil countersunk screws. So it's just going right on top, just like that, okay? So you are not removing this. You are just placing this on top. Moving forward, we are on page 30. Now we're gonna do the shocks, because this front axle, for now, is done. All right, so we're gonna set that aside until we have to do something further to it. The rear axle is waiting in the wings, and now we bring forward our shocks. So we have 4 shocks of 2 different lengths, so do pay attention to that. We have our bag of ends and retainers, so that's gonna stay to the side, and or pivot balls and retainers, sorry. I don't know what I said. Knew what I was talking about though. So now is when, if you have a multi-purpose shock plier from either Boom Racing or another company, you would want to use that, or you use the supplied tool that they give you. Either way, doesn't matter, as long as the job gets done. So let's go do that, and we'll show you what that looks like in just a sec. Okay, so we have our first shock done here. I did go ahead, I followed the directions, very easy on page 30. It looks like a lot, but it's really not. You're just going in, siliconing all of the O-rings. You are filling the shock oil up 1/2 to 3/4, and you are putting the retainers and pivot balls in. Thing to pay attention with the retainers is there is a nipple and an indentation. So the nipple on the black retainer and an indentation on the actual shock end. Very, very easy, straightforward. Make sure they line up. Make sure you get that positive kind of click in so the retainer doesn't spin, and then pushing your ball in from the opposite direction of the nipple indentation. Pretty straightforward. And then you have shocks. We're almost there. I cannot wait to mount these axles. As with most things on a boom build, you might have extra parts. And it's a good thing. They always include extra parts. So with doing the shocks, I had extra retainers. I'm gonna leave those in the bag and I'm gonna set those aside. You never know when you're gonna need one. So it's good to have extra parts. Put them back in a bag, set them aside, keep yourself organized, because once this is all done and you have a spare parts bag, if you're on the trail, something gets broken, you might be able to fix it just out of your spare parts bags. Moving on to page 31, another straightforward, very easy page. We are going to be mounting the axle and the shocks. This is the front axle and the front shocks onto the shock towers. And the only place you're really gonna need Loctite on here, which the page does tell you if you pay attention, is gonna be into the shock towers. But pay attention, every page there are those exclamation points and there are the Loctite guides. Pay attention to everything that is on these pages. I'm gonna keep repeating myself until you all get it. It is very important, and if you follow every step, this build's gonna come together great and it's gonna be a very reliable truck. If you don't follow the instructions, you might miss something or not Loctite something. I was guilty, my first boom truck. I did not Loctite everything. And I paid the price. Wasn't a bad price, like $15. So just pay attention, it helps. Let's get this front axle on. So I did put the screw in the panhard. I did mention the only spot you should need Loctite on here is the shocks, the shock towers. I lied, panhard as well. That is another metal to metal connection without a nut on the other side. And just another food for thought, pay attention to the instructions. Again, little repetition here. The front shocks are 80 millimeter, the rear are 70. So longer shocks in the pack, go in the front. That was really pleasant. So that went together super easy. The front is sprung and done. The panhard's done. The links underneath are done. And now we move on to page 32. So 32 is gonna be the rear axle. So let me, again, clean off the bench, get organized, reset, and figure out what we need for the next page. Just looking at the page here, we're on page 32. I printed this version, so here we go. It says to use a 2 millimeter ball head Allen wrench to do the lower link mounts first. So the lower link mount would be this right here. That's your lower link mount. Now, when you put the link on, there is very little room. So it says to either release the link mount and put it on and then reinstall the link mount, or use an Allen wrench. I'm gonna use an Allen wrench. It's just much faster than taking half the axle apart for no reason. It's just tight to get to, so that's why they tell you to do that. So just food for thought, that's coming up. Something that you kind of have to deal with on this truck. So not a huge deal, but there's no other way to do it because there's not much space there. Okay, after quickly trying that, it's kind of tight. Without risking cross-threading and going in a little bit on an angle, even using an Allen key is pretty tight. So I am gonna take those link mounts off and just do it that way. Just because it's not worth the risk. Okay, so now we have the link mount off, right? Just remember, you want it on the inboard side. So just remember what direction you're putting this on, so that way when you go to put it back on the axle, it's not on the outside, on the wrong side, and then you're gonna be mad at yourself because you did it wrong. So I am just gonna put this back on real quick, and then we do the other side. This is not as big of a deal as I thought it was gonna be. I didn't wanna take these off. I just figured, why take it off if I don't have to? I definitely recommend just taking it off. This was 30 seconds extra time just to take the link mounts off. I actually am gonna recommend, if they'll listen, just to take that out of the directions. The Allen key shouldn't even be an option. The step should read, just take the link mounts off. It's much easier, and it can alleviate a lot of issues for cross-threading, stripping something out. So we're almost done here. I'll be right back. We got the lower and the upper links on. Very easy. After the lower links and having to take the bracket off, or the mount, the upper links went right on. Super, super easy. And wow, look at that geometry and just how beautiful those adjustable links are. They really are just, they're beautiful to stare at. I cannot wait to play with this. But for now, we're gonna move on, add these shocks, and almost have a complete roller here. Okay. So the next step is gonna be drive shafts. That's gonna be straightforward. I'm gonna put those on and come back and just show you what it looks like when it's complete before we head into electronics in the next episode. But for tonight, we're gonna finish up with these drive shafts. Please remember, always Loctite your drive shaft pins. We've all had drive shaft pins fall out on the trail, never to be seen again, and it stinks. And it all can be prevented, like a forest fire, with Loctite. Wait, that's not how that works, right? Ha, anyway, look at that. Look at those links, look at the adjustable links. Oh, so nice. So what I plan on doing is, I know this is adjustable from 10.2 to 11.2. If anybody was wondering, those are the measurements that you can adjust from. Now, I am gonna put the stock ZIL body on it because I am gonna paint a body and I am gonna put it on it. However, I wanna put something else on it and I wanna use the adjustability for this. So for these build series purposes, we're gonna leave this right where it's at in the standard configuration for the ZIL body. But in the future, I'm gonna be putting something fun on this. I don't know what yet. I have an idea, but I'm also curious to see if they come out with an extension kit because I would like it to be just a little bit longer. So we'll see what happens with that. But for now, let's definitely get these drive shafts on. And there we have it, folks. This is, for the most part, a rolling chassis. We just need to put the electronics in. That includes the steering servo, the motor, and the 2-speed servo with the link to the transmission. Excuse me, I'm so excited, I got a hiccup. But so far, everything has gone together seamlessly. The instructions are extremely clear and very easy to follow. I have nothing bad to say. If you watched our AWB Leaf version of the build series, I did find a few things that I either didn't like or mistakes in the manual. With this one, I haven't found anything, and I am even more impressed by Boom Racing. The ingenuity of this thing is stunning. The machine work is stunning. And again, they're hefty, beautiful, quality trucks. It is exactly what you think you're paying for. That's what you're getting, if not better. So if you're on the fence and this is something you think you want, trust me, you want it. Just do it. You will not regret it, I promise. We will see you the next episode when we move on to electronics and put some power to this beast.